We've also been recently elected our president of the club. Our Toastmaster this evening is Thomas Jester. I now understand how awkward it was for Maurice all those weeks. Handing off Toastmaster to yourself is not something that's totally normal feeling. So, as part of our program, I will be the Toastmaster. I'll be more or less the master of ceremonies, if you will, who will be leading us from one thing to the next. We have an educational type of program. That program is where we're working on speeches and delivering speeches specifically. We're going to have as part of that people evaluating various parts of our speech. And the leader of our evaluation team is the general evaluator, Justin Gish is our general evaluator tonight. He'll tell us a little bit about that role and introduce his evaluation team.
Sure. So the general evaluator does a basic overall evaluation of the meeting and then also runs the evaluation part of the meeting. Most of those responsibilities are delegated out. One of those roles is grammarian, which I'm also handling. The grammarian counts the number of times the word of the day is used and also looks for correct usage of English and notes any grammatical errors that might come up. So, and I'm honestly not clear on.
Word of the day.
Oh, thank you. The word of the day is adventitious, which I've been using improperly so far. It's accidental, additional, foreign, added from an outside and often unexpected source rather than intrinsic. So that I can see that one being a difficult one to work in properly.
It's non-native or accidental.
An example, if the DNA profile is partial because the sample is degraded, then adventitious matches often occur. I hope everybody finds that helpful.
Accidental matches.
So then the evaluation team, Thomas, you are first evaluator?
Yes, I'll be the first evaluator, so I will be evaluating Cody's speech tonight from the Competent Communicator Manual, getting comfortable with visual aids, which means I will be looking for key pieces of his speech, which will have to incorporate a visual aid of some form, and seeing how he uses it and giving him what he did well and what he can improve on, both in the speech part and the using of visual aids.
And who's the second evaluator?
Cody.
Cody.
Yes, I will be evaluating for his speech tonight, and he has moved on to the communicating on video book, and he will be delivering an editorial, good news editorial. So I will be evaluating his speech tonight.
And Mickey is the timer. Do you want to describe the timer role?
The timer role, just an overview, the timekeeper is responsible for timing items in the meeting and signaling at appropriate points. So just a quick overview for myself. When you've met midways this here, midways is the bone. Then when you've met your minimum time at green, and then when you've gone over red, I'm assuming?
And just a clarification, the midway between the, so say the speech is 5 to 7 minutes long.
Yes.
The green would go up at 5.
Okay.
The yellow would go up at 6, kind of like a green light, yellow light.
Okay, so the point's 5, 6, 7. Okay.
There you go.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And also, you will be timing the evaluations and the table topics.
And your times
Right.
are.
Yes, got it.
So anything you see on the agenda there that has a time frame on it, Mickey will be keeping us honest on being timely. So the next part of our agenda will be, so that's the educational, where we're very much focused on every part of public speaking. Then we move on to table topics, which is not so much about public speaking, but more those impromptu situations, like you're stopped in the elevator by a boss or somebody who's asking you a question that you aren't expecting, but you know you need to answer well. So that situation is the type of situation that table topics is to help you with. So we're mostly going to be tracking good use of grammar, how many times you say the word or or any other fillers. So that's that part of our program, and that will be led by Marlo.
Yes.
We will be handing out our topics.
Yes.
As a guest tonight, you will not have to do table topics if you do not want.
It'll be fun.
But if you choose, you can volunteer. Everyone else is a member of the club, so Marla will be allowed to pick on us and we don't have a choice.
And I'd like to add to think fun and fictitious. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be just factual. You know, just kind of make it fun. It could be adventitious to be fun and fictional. Okay?
So, and after that, we'll go into our going over everybody's speeches, and then we'll talk about some other things as we end the meeting with our educational moment that's educational about some aspect of Toastmasters, not necessarily educational about speech giving or leadership, but just in general, something about Toastmasters. And so with that, I will introduce our first speaker tonight. Our first speaker is on, I believe this is his 8th of the 10, Competent Communicator, which is the first part of our communication series. He has been a member for approximately 10 months, about as long as I have been a member. And honestly, it was really helpful when I was getting started at motivating me to get through my initial 10 speeches. So our speaker tonight is Cody Broussard. Oh yeah.
Tonight, I'm going to be covering the core elements of creating a mobile application business. All great businesses start with an amazing idea. The idea that drives the founder to see his idea through all the troubles and see it come to life. Now, I know it sounds like a daunting task to come up with a world-changing idea, but there are ways to improve the amount of ideas you can come up with and the quality. One of these ways is, as you go through the day, record all the problems you see in the world. And at the end of the day, brainstorm ideas on how to solve these problems. If you do this day in and day out, you'll eventually get better at seeing the problems and determining solutions for the ideas. Eventually, you do this enough, you will come up with an idea that's business-worthy. So with the idea, you needed to validate the idea, determine if it actually will make a nice business. A lot of people skip this step, and that's why most businesses fail. They think they have the world's next best idea, but they don't do the due diligence in the beginning. Some key things to look into in your business model is to determine your customer base. Are you going to be able to get enough people interested in your product or service to drive revenue and support the business? And another tip with the business model is, what's your end goal? A lot of people start a business and never really think what the success looks like, and they're disappointed. So determine where you see yourself, what kind of financial success do you want? Will this business be able to generate that for you? Now you need to determine the technology that's going to go in your application. This is called the technology stack. So if you wanted to create a Google Android application, you would need to program it in Java. An iPhone application is programmed in Objective-C or Swift. Facebook created a software in 2015 called React Native. This uses the programming language JavaScript to create a hybrid application. 70% of one code can be used on Android and iOS, so this cuts down on development time and also cost for the company. A lot of people are moving to JavaScript coding for apps. Wireframing is essentially a storyboard. It's static images of all the scenes of your application. It's really a great tool for determining the user experience, how the user will navigate through the application. Also, once it's complete, it's a great tool for showing developers what you actually want, and down the road when you're trying to raise money, show investors if you don't have a prototype yet, get a more detailed vision of what you're trying to build. Now you need to make a business decision on how you want to build the app. You have two options. You can bring it in-house or outsource the work. Some of the pros of outsourcing the work is it's going to be cheaper and the finish time's usually a little shorter. They can throw more resources at your application and get it done quicker. Some of the negatives of it is that the quality's probably not going to be as good as you would like. They might steal your idea because you're typically going to send it to another country and patent laws don't really transfer well internationally. And if you need to iterate it, upgrade it, add a feature down the road, it's harder to do this because you outsourced it. Now you're going to have to find a new company or supplier. It's rare that you'd be able to get the same guy to actually do the work for you. Now, if you bring it in-house, you'll be hiring someone either for cash or equity in your company. So this is going to be more expensive, but the quality is going to be better if you make a good hire, and they'll be with you for a longer time to help you develop the new features of your application and new iterations. All companies, big or small, if they want to grow, are going to have to raise money at some point in time in their lifespan. For a startup, mobile application businesses can be done with the age-old way of asking your relatives, friends, and family for money to invest in your company. Or you could use angel investors, which are wealthy individuals who spend their money to buy equity in your company at early stages, or venture capitalists, also known as VCs. Do the same thing as angel investors, but it's at a later stage and more money is typically involved in the transaction. Once you get your application finished and you're ready to put it on the Play Store or the iStore, you have to get through the gatekeepers, that's Google and Apple. They have rules and regulations, and you must obey these before your application can get published onto their stores. So it's a good idea to go ahead and review what they want prior to submitting it, so you avoid the loop of rejections, so you can maybe get it on your first shot. So you've come up with a great idea, you've gone through the process, you've made it through the gatekeepers, and now you're ready for the launch. You're ready to put your product out in the world and see how the world responds to your product. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kurt. I think it was really neat to see that the way we create a mobile application may not be that much different from the way we start up any kind of business. There are a few ins and outs that are obviously specific to the industry, but it was nice to see that from previous speeches you've given that some of those skills would translate across. Our second speaker tonight has been with Toastmasters for coming up on 2 years. He is now currently serving as our immediate past president. He has completed his Competent Communicator Manual and is currently working on video, speaking through video, that's it. And tonight we will be hearing his speech that is from the speech task called Straight Talk, where he'll be doing something similar to a news editorial. Maurice.
Good evening, everyone. As you all know, those who live in the Mobile area, Mobile County and Baldwin County, there's a problem that's been lingering for many years, and that is navigating on I-10 toward the George Wallace Tunnel. On the Mobile side, as you approach the tunnel, it goes from 3 lanes to 2 lanes. And then once you get across the tunnel on the Bayway Bridge, it's 2 lanes. But once you get out of the tunnel, the traffic seems to be much better. The capacity, or the original capacity, of the George Wallace Tunnel as you travel through it has been exceeded each day for so many years. About 2 to 3 years ago, there was a proposal to build a bridge to go over the Mobile River and to connect to the Bayway Bridge. But one problem with that is the proposed cost is $800 million to $1 billion. And with that amount of money, it will require federal assistance, federal matching funds. As of January of this year, President Trump had a proposed list of infrastructure projects. The I-10 Mobile River Bridge was not on that list. And as of May of this year, Transportation Secretary Lane Chow says that there is $1 trillion set aside for infrastructure all across the country, but it won't contain a specific list of infrastructure projects. So the Mobile River Bridge is still up in the air. And my personal opinion is, well, let me ask the question, will it be up and running in 5 years? My opinion is, I'm not sure, probably not. Although it will be beneficial, it will have obvious benefits such as traffic and perhaps more businesses come to Mobile, as well as some adventitious benefits. But my opinion is, in 5 years, I don't think that bridge will be up and running. Toastmaster.
I like that his use of the word adventitious was on purpose and correct. Which I believe will be the hardest thing for us all night, is to use that word correctly, because it just sounds like it should mean something else.
Yes.
So moving on from our main body of speeches for the evening, we'll now be moving forward to our table topics. Marlo is one of our newest members. This will be her first time serving as our table topics master. I'd like to invite her forward to begin our session of table topics. Please remember that we'll try and do this about 7:20.
Very well, y'all.
Have about 10 minutes.
Oh, 10.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna push it. Hello, fellow Toastmasters. The theme for our table topics tonight is food for thought. So I just been thinking about all these different types of food. One type of food for thought is strawberries are not berries. However, bananas, watermelons, and avocados are. With that being said, do we have any volunteers to go into our bag? Now, before you go in the bag, I want you to keep in mind that life has lots of surprises, and you have to use food for thought when you go into the bag of life, okay? So the first bag, who's gonna volunteer?
I won't.
Okay, come on, you, come on.
Okay.
Everyone else get to pick their bag, but I'm going to choose this bag for you. You will go into the bag of life, and I want you to remember that sometimes when you're given lemons, you have to turn it into lemonade. Tell us about an event that you helped turn from lemons to lemonade. Maurice.
Madam Topic topic master, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, what situation turned out to be lemons that I turned into lemonade? One particular instance that I can think of is when I applied for the professional engineering exam. When I first applied for it, I was on one job, and then not too much after I applied for it, I got laid off, and incidentally, I couldn't find another job. So I ended up going back home to Meridian from Sligo, Louisiana, New Orleans area. I worked in New Orleans. I ended up being a self-employed computer technician, and 5.5 years afterwards, I reapplied because I had to reapply for the exam because I had to, during each exam period, I notified them that I was still registered or qualified, or when one day I just missed it. So I had to repay the fee 5.5 years later. But I took the exam and passed it the first time. And incidentally, I was still about 4 years away from my next engineering job, which I eventually got, and now I left that job, and I'm self-employed as an engineer. Madam Topic Master.
Another fascinating food for thought is in 2012, Hawaii consumed more Spam than any other state in the union, which is approximately 7 million cans. With that being said, we will go into our bag of tricks, and I hope you enjoy. And remember, it is adventitious to think fun and fictitious. Mr.
Yes, Justin. Yes.
All right, you get to choose.
Okay.
Close your eyes. You can pick anything in the bag. Or you
Close
can,
my eyes.
you can pick anything in the bag, or you can pick the bag itself.
How about this?
All right, let's see what you have. Interesting. You have a hot dog. This is a two-parter. First of all, fascinating fact about hot dogs. In 2015, 62 hot dogs were eaten in 1 minute. Also, the most expensive hot dog sold for $169 in Seattle. So with the thought of changing lemons to lemonade, I want you to award this hot dog to someone. And whomever you award the hot dog to, they have to accept it and do a thank you, and they would be the third Toastmaster.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, Madam
Enjoy.
Toastmaster. So, fellow Toastmasters, we're going to begin the awards part of our presentation this evening. And I have an excellent award for an ambitious, relatively new Toastmaster who's joined the club just recently, just 8 months or so, and has jumped right in, has done many speeches, has pursued his role very aggressively, and has moved into a very senior management position in the club very quickly, very impressed. His speaking abilities have improved quite a bit also. He has a great presence when he speaks, good leadership skills. And I've forgotten his name.
Totally forgettable.
Thomas.
Yes.
Thomas, I would like to award you this hot dog for your excellent improvements and excellent work that you've done for this club.
All right.
Please come to the podium.
Yes.
I graciously accept this hot dog, and I'm very happy to receive it. I have, for those of you who were here on my first week. I believe it was Mark DeVoe who actually asked me as part of Table Topics, which I was crazy enough to volunteer on my first week when I was just a guest. And he said, it was right after New Year's, and he was like, what's the one New Year's resolution that you have kept the longest? And I've kept it to this day, so I'm coming up now on 14 years with the same resolution. And that was to, as long as it's not gonna hurt me, I'm just gonna go in with both feet and just do it. And that's kind of how I approached this. And so I guess that resolution is now won me a hot dog, which is awesome. Because my kids will think this is cool. So thank you, Justin, for the recognition, obviously. And I'm more than happy to get a free toy for my kids any day.
All right, thank you. Interesting information. The engineering department at Purdue University conducted a study. They wanted to see how many licks did it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. They used a licking machine, and it took approximately 364 licks. Unaided with a licking from the licking machine, it takes 252 licks. Now, I need another volunteer. Do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
Would you like to come, sir? All right. Okay, you need to go in the bag. Turn it in. What do you have, sir?
Luncheon loaf.
The Prime Minister of Oshkosh has invited you to dinner, and they serve this delicious luncheon loaf. The last person who had something negative to say was beheaded. Therefore, tell us how delicious the lunch loaf is and why it is so delicious. Sir.
Why is this loaf so delicious? Well, it's not something we have in America, you know. We stick with McDonald's these days. We don't expand our taste. And now that I'm in your wonderful country that I forgot the name of,
Oshkosh.
Oshkosh,
Yes.
you know, as in this meeting, I've took a step forward, I've tried new things, I'm looking for something adventitious. This meat, it has a new flavor. It's a flavor that I've never tried in America. But what kind of flavor? You know, I don't really know how to describe it. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't get it out. It's something truly unique, something that you should keep a secret, something that you should hide from the world, because no one else deserves to try something as beautiful as this.
Keep going.
You're doing great.
It's a beautiful place. I don't know.
All right, thank you. Really easy one, the very last one. So, do we have another volunteer? Madam Timer?
Are
I'm
you
serious.
serious?
As general evaluator,
Yes,
you
yes.
can hold
Oh,
it
wow.
because you have to do it.
It will only take a second. You get a choice. You get an opportunity to choose.
Improv, okay, sure, absolutely.
Okay, reach in. Enjoy.
And easy one, I'm hoping.
Just put your hand in there and pull it. Madam, please. As I explained to you before, Purdue University, they conducted a study. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Could you please scientifically explain to us how does the licking machine works, what does it do, and how do we know that the information is true? Thank you.
Thank you, yes, Madam Professor. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Mickey Seltzer. And so the question has been posed, how does the machine mechanism how does it get to the bottom of a Tootsie Roll? Only I can probably assume is that wonderful engineers such as yourselves they've created a program that would it would keep count of how many licks it takes to actually get to the bottom. And once all the data is collected, they'll submit it to the powers that be, and it'll say, okay, it takes 326 licks to get to the bottom of one as opposed to, I'm just thinking that will probably be it. And I'm thinking they had a wonderful time creating the software to get to the bottom of this, the center of this wonderful piece of candy here. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, everyone, you may keep your lovely awards and prizes. They're yours to keep. And I'd like to thank all of you. And I want you guys, when you leave, to remember that it is important to have food for thought. Thank you. Fellas.
Okay, we'll now move on to our evaluation portion of the evening. This is led by our general evaluator, Justin Gish. Literally turns 10.
Okay, so we'll begin the evaluation period of this meeting. Let's start with the evaluation of the first speech, which was Cody's speech on creating a mobile application. Thomas?
So as I stated earlier, I really enjoyed the speech. It showed some neat things about just business in general as well as mobile application development. But the speech was about using visual aids. So a couple of the questions that it asked were, was the visual aid appropriate for the speech and message? I said that that was excellent. It was an appropriate one because it could move with you by having the slides. As you transition from one step to the next, it could transition its visual aid with you. So I thought that was an excellent one. Did the visual aid help me understand and remember the speaker's points? I said that was satisfactory and that there were probably things that you could have done to make it more memorable, but some of the pictures or figures you had chosen, I will probably remember that single slide or two the rest of my life. One that comes to mind was when you were talking about outsource or insource and the two pictures, because the way you had done your topic on that slide very much was, well, yeah, you can do it and it's going to get the job done, but it's probably not going to be as nice as this pretty dollhouse over here because this is an outhouse. And so I thought that was very helpful for that one, but some of your other slides probably could have benefited from better figure choice. Was each age clearly visible? Yes, that's excellent. You used computer-based and they were easy to read and they were well arranged and I thought they were well designed with not being too busy. Did the speaker use visual aids smoothly and with confidence? You seem very confident up there. The only thing that I think would have made it smoother is if you had someone else advancing the slides for you, or you had one of those clickers, but those, we don't have one yet as Toastmasters, so we can't expect people to use them for our club meetings quite yet. The speaker's purpose was excellently clear. I didn't have any questions what the purpose was. It was to teach us what to do if we wanted to ever do that, develop the application. You use body language, being away from the lectern and being able to kind of move around a little bit was very helpful in the speech because I think it eliminated some of that nervous energy that we all have when we're up here. Your word choice was effective, so I said excellent on that. And as I stated before, the only thing I would have improved is possibly taking a little bit more time to pick slightly better, more memorable figures for the slides instead of some of the ones that I could go into specifics, but that's just being very nitpicky about which ones probably could have been better. However, I thought that by discussing it as a process and just moving us one step through the process at a time was the perfect way, and the visual aid being able to step through this was really helpful in creating some memorable moments of how we can do this in the future if we want to without actually having to go back and ask you. So I thought it was a really good speech. I was really glad to have heard it, even though I don't plan on developing a web app anytime soon. But I was really glad to have heard it just for that knowledge. General, Mr. Evaluator. General Evaluator.
So we'll move to the evaluation of the second speech. Maurice did a speech where he acted as if he was presenting a a news presentation talking about the Mobile River, hopefully, the bridge that we'll see in the future. And this evaluation will be performed by Cody.
Tonight I'm evaluating Maurice's speech from the Communication on Video book from Toastmasters. He was doing straight talk tonight, and this was supposed to mimic a news editorial, like he was sitting on Channel 5 newscast delivering a piece of breaking news. So I'm going to go over the questions for this section, because a lot of us aren't familiar with it because we don't have this book yet. What was the news event or current issue on which the editorial was based? So he went into the I-10 Mobile River Bridge and talked about the problems we have with traffic. Anybody that's lived in Mobile long enough knows we have major traffic issues. And, you know, should we have this bridge, kind of the timeline, the problems we'll have getting the bridge. What reaction did the speaker have towards the news event or issue? Was it clearly present? Yes, he wanted to see the bridge built, as we all do, and mentioned that. And also he had his opinion on, will we see it in 5 years? Probably not. So he did present his opinion, and it was clearly presented. Did the speaker show sound logic and reasoning in explaining his or her viewpoint? Yep, he used pretty concise language. It was a detailed description of how the traffic problems we have, and also went into the funding of projects and how that's going to play out. Were the words carefully chosen, short and clearly pronounced? Yes, use clear short words except for the word of the day, but he had to use that. So the speaker relate convincingly to the camera. Yes, he used the camera and looked like couldn't see the video yet, but it looked like he'd done that. Was the speaker's appearance appropriate? How did his or her appearance affect the editorial? Yes, he dressed appropriate for the speech. How effective do you feel the editorial would have been if it had actually been broadcasted? I think it might have been a little slow, maybe it could have been a little quicker, but I know you have time constraints on the speech, so you need to hit a certain point, but maybe on that specific topic could have used a little less time. But overall, I felt it was educational. I enjoyed that you gave your own opinion about the outlook for the bridge project at the end of the broadcast. Thank you, Mr. General Manager.
So we'll move on to the timing report. Mickey, would you like to give us the timing report?
Sure, absolutely. Do I come up or here's fine?
Normally we just do it from the chair.
Okay, I guess, okay. Do we do the start time or just the speech?
Just the length of each.
Each speech,
the length of
okay.
each speech.
We'll start with Mr. Bosarge, Cody. His creating a mobile application, his speech was 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Moving along to Maurice's speech, his speech was 3 minutes and 22 seconds. And then we have the table topics, if you will. Maurice's speech was 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Justin's speech was 1 minute 14 seconds. And Thomas's speech was 1 minute and 1 second. The evaluations. The evaluations, we have Mr. Jester Thomas, he was 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes. And then we have Mr. Cody Bosarge, he was 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
And Mickey, I've got a time for you at 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
So it's always interesting. I'm always surprised at how short my table topic is, because often when I'm standing up here, it feels like 4 times. So we'll move on with the grammarian report, the odd count, the word of the day. So starting with Thomas, I heard just a single Cody, I heard a couple of you-knows and a yep. Maurice used the word of the day once. That was the only time I noticed it. It's possible there were others. I apologize if I missed those. Did you use it? Use it also? I apologize for missing that. Maurice, you used one during a table topic, but the speech itself, I didn't notice any issues at all. I'm sure I had several issues that I didn't notice while I was speaking, but I counted a so, an okay so. That's something I've noticed I used to fill in the beginning as an okay so. Mickey, I noticed, and I guess, and Marlo, I didn't notice any issues at all. And then just a general evaluation of the meeting. Meeting started on time. We had a 5-minute recess. We introduced the roles to our visitor. Cody did a great speech on creating a mobile application with visual aids. Maurice did an interesting speech that, with a format that I hadn't seen before, acting as a presenter and recording that speech. Marlo did some great table topics. I liked the preparation involved and the thought that was put into that. That's a lot more fun than the canned table topics that I usually come up with. So that was a lot of fun. Great meeting overall. Mr. Toastmaster.
So now we will move on to our educational overview, which is actually going to be done by me tonight. I have been harping about the use of something for a couple weeks now. And so today we're going to actually take a look at it. So we're going to be talking about something called Easy Speak. In case you guys want to, that's what time was when my computer was asleep. This is Easy Speak. It's just a really quick web-based service that Toastmasters uses to be able to organize meetings. It also will have a calendar of what meetings are. Inside you will also see you can have trackers for leadership awards and communication awards. So I'm going to log in as me. And so you'll see some stuff on here at first that's the officers have access to, but you guys don't. But we'll make sure that you guys can see. So if I go to our next meeting, you're going to see stuff here off to the side. This is what we're normally filling out when we do our VP of Education minute at the very end, which we'll get to, and we'll be filling this out. And you'll watch me probably fill it out live on the big screen right here. But this is where you can also go to volunteer for roles. Like here, you're seeing I'm allowed to edit any role. But if I was logged in as just a member, all that would happen is any role that's not already filled, I could would have a drop down instead of every single role. And I could volunteer by saying, nope, me. And the only name that would appear when I drop down that menu would be my own name, because that's the only person I can volunteer as not the VP of Education or the president or the person in charge of the meeting, which we may put one of you in charge of the meeting one time. So you are in charge of making sure all the roles are filled before we get to Toastmasters on Monday. So here you'll be able to say, I'm going to be attending, yes, no, or also thumbs up, thumbs down up here at the top. But the big thing that I wanted to show is, so here you'll see, this is just a way for me to track my leadership development. So as part of my leadership development, I've had to do everything you see in green here is something I've done. Tonight, it says, yep, I'm scheduled tonight to be a speech evaluator. And so when we close out this meeting, it'll say, yep, you served as a speech evaluator. So when I'm going just to check on my personal, I'll be able to see where I stand. Up here, in this corner, you'll see where it says leadership goals. You can create your own goal. When I started Toastmasters back in January, said, by October, I'm going to complete all the ones that don't require me to sit as a chair and anything. Because it's like 10 months, that's like 8 names. Yeah, I could do that. It now says I have 4 weeks to complete the last 2. I have 4 weeks per thing, so I have 4 weeks to complete my last 2 projects each, which will be the ones that are way down on the bottom that are starting to be the hard ones to get, because most of them are just attending meetings and doing roles here and developing your skills as an evaluator, as a listener. And so if you clicked here, I'll pop this up real quick. You just select what you're trying to achieve. Competent leadership, that's the one that everybody's working on. And there's higher level ones for once you've gotten competent leader to move on beyond that. The other important one is speech progress. So this is what Cody and Maurice worked on tonight. Tonight they're going to be punched in as they've given a speech. Cody, his 8th speech in Competent Communicator, and Maurice, his first one in video presenting. In this, you can see I don't currently have a goal because I just completed mine. And I don't have a new manual yet. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing as my next goal because I haven't selected them. But just like the other one, you can select this new goal and it comes up with some prompts. Well, what are you trying to achieve? Competent communicator, a specific book, various versions, or just so many speeches. You can have this goal and that will help you, Ying, and me, or whoever the meeting manager is, know to reach out to you via email to help you achieve that goal if that's what you're going for. So if you're looking to improve your ability to speak in front of people, you can put goals here if you're not so much concerned about the leadership one. And if you only have goals here, we'll make it so that you can achieve as much of those as possible. And then the last thing is requesting a speech. This is important because this helps us create the agendas. Because if you request a speech in here, we can pull it in and drop it in to our agenda tool that we were looking at earlier. So you'll punch in whatever your speech title is. Typically, when you're just saying, I want to do this speech by this date, I don't really know what it's about yet, you're either going to put to be determined or just the actual speech, like competent communicator, number 8. And when you get into that speech development, you'll finally give it a title and you can replace it afterwards. That's what you put on here. You can give a brief introduction, and the Toastmaster can go and look at all the speech introductions so that they can have a copy to be able to do a better introduction about what you're speaking about that evening. Here you'll be able to select from a workbook that you've already said that you're working on. So me, I'll be selecting starting a new workbook when I do this next time. And then you'll be able to pick preferred dates, and it goes out, I think, 3 months that you can pick dates for. No, 2 full months. 2 full months. So if you're really gung-ho about getting through Competent Communicator, you can request to be every other week for 2 months, and you'll be almost done at the end. If you want to have some time to really polish them and practice at home so that you can come up here and give the best speech you can, then you can schedule them to be once a month, once every other month. But you can put when you would prefer them to be, and that way if we have a hole and we're on your date and you weren't here the week before to volunteer, oh, well, she says she wants to speak this week. So we'll put her in because she said she wants to do it this week. Okay? So, are there any questions? For the new members, you may not have gotten fully set up in here. We can work on that either right after the meeting tonight or next week. Get you some emails out so you can set up your password. It will have your username already set, which we just generally arbitrarily pick portions of your name to create. Actually, it creates it based on arbitrary portions of your name. And so you'll be able to create a password to go with it so that you can log in and you can advise all the things and create the goals and track yourself. That's how I kept myself motivated. If I don't have a goal, it's never going to happen. If I hadn't gone in here and literally created myself 2 goals, I would be sitting probably in his seat right now, quiet as a church mouse, having given 2 speeches because I was forced to. By my job that got me in this in the first place. My job required me to come and give 2 speeches in the year. And that's probably exactly what I would have done if I hadn't created these goals for myself. Instead, I got my competent communicator a month earlier than I anticipated because I like goals and I like saying I finished. And so if you're goal oriented, totally, they're really helpful. They get you motivated. If you're not goal oriented, they just give you a nice little measuring post of how you're doing compared to how well you thought you could do. So that is easy speak, really briefly. It does not translate, so we have to translate all that stuff over to the Toastmasters International information, but it's just a way for you to easily keep track of where you stand, where you're going, and help us easily track where you want to be. Because Toastmasters International doesn't have a goal setting tool in it. And it doesn't have an agenda setting tool in it, like Easy Speak does. So this will make it so it's easier for us to help you achieve the goals. So if there are no questions, then I will turn the time over to our president to go forward with awards, which we don't have any this evening because we just haven't gotten the awards in yet for the few people who have gotten to that point. So we'll go to the VP of Education, which is going to be me since Yu Ying is out tonight. So we will need for next week all of the roles.
I'll do
Table topics. So you'll actually be seeing exactly what I do when
all the work we force you to do because no one uses these.
huh?
I said all the work we force you to do because
Because no one uses these and goes on and volunteers before the meeting. Yeah, exactly. Would anybody else like to volunteer for something like timer? Some key roles that are very helpful to fill. If someone volunteers for Toastmaster, currently this is set, I think, for me to be the person in charge of the meeting.
I'll be Toastmaster.
And so what I will do is if you volunteer to be Toastmaster and you promise that you'll actually get on before Monday, I will give you meeting manager roles, which means you will see it like this. Any role that's open, you can put anybody in the club in. Guests don't get put in. So you're good for right now. So Justin will be our Toastmaster.
Sure.
If we do not get speakers, I am for we will do a table topics night, which means probably every single person in the room will give a table topics, and we will have a competition involved with it, meaning we will pick before the table topics start what 3 awards will be that we will give out at the end.
Okay.
Funniest, most interesting, or whatever they want to be, we want them to be.
You're laughing all
And we'll give out 3, if we don't have any by next Monday, it will be a table topics night. And we'll just give out awards at the end for the people who met whatever requirement, because we'll all be on equal playing field, having no one prepared anything. Okay? So, come up with a lot of table topics, Cody. We did that once, I think it was February, right around Valentine's Day. We ended up with a table topics night. And I think everybody really enjoyed it because it really showed how much we have all grown in the whatever time frame it had been that we were part of the group. So do I have any volunteers for a speech? I know Mickey hasn't given her icebreaker yet.
Icebreaker, how many minutes?
Icebreaker is 4 to 6.
Okay.
Yay.
Look at her face like, that's a lot. It's 4 to 6
It's been a
minutes,
while,
but it's
but
just
I can do it,
introducing
yeah.
you. So,
Okay.
I know that, I'm saying, I know that you haven't done your icebreaker yet, which is typically one of the first ones that we try to get you to pretty quick, because it gets that tension. It gets that tension and fear
How did I
really
feel about
diminished.
doing that one?
Okay, you can do it. You don't have to. but-
And a tip I like to use is go ahead and sign up for it, and then when you start plugging it back up, now I've signed up for it, so I don't have to do it.
Yeah, so we'll get you set up in here so that you can request a speech. And if we don't get that done soon enough for next Monday, then you'll get another week to prepare. How's that sound?
It sounds good. You mean to log in for myself to log in?
To log in, so you can request a speech so that we can put your speech in to the agenda.
Oh, okay, because I'm able to log in.
You're able to log into this?
Mhm.
Okay, then you can just request a speech when you get home and I'll add it later. Because I can't add somebody to give a speech on
Okay.
this without them having requested one.
Oh, got it.
I can request one for you, but I feel really bad doing that, even if you
Okay.
volunteer.
And we're looking at 4 to 6.
Are you able to log in, Marlo?
Are you able to log in?
I haven't really tried yet.
Yeah, somebody sent me a login.
Yeah, that would have been, Lawrence is in charge of getting that sent
okay.
out, so that would have been Lawrence.
Oh, okay. We're looking at 4 to 6 minutes. Okay.
Any volunteers for general evaluator, first evaluator? No volunteers for
I'll volunteer for second evaluator.
second evaluator?
So that's 4 to 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
I think that's pretty, unless Marlo has something she wants to volunteer for, that's everybody who's sitting here tonight.
Just put me in anywhere. Put me in
Have you
anywhere.
served as, no, you've served as timer.
I'm still
Right.
learning how to be a good evaluator. That has been a challenge.
Yeah, so
Well, we'll put you on group
something that
mayors.
takes practice is hard.
Okay, I'll try.
Well, because grammarian practice is one of the key aspects of being a good evaluator, is just listening for every blessed detail that people are saying, so that you can catch every filler word. Or you can catch all of the uses of the word of the day, so it helps build that skill. How's that sound?
Right.
Okay, so we'll fill out the rest, myself and Yu Ying and Justin. And between one of the three of us, it will get filled out, the rest of this schedule. And if there is nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.